And we are back in your life on another beautiful Wednesday in the Pokemon neighborhood. How are you guys?
I'm great.
I'm good, brother.
We've got Ricky as always, but we're also joined by a special third guest, Ern Collects. Thank you so much, Ern, for tuning in. For those of you who don't know, Ern is a bright mind in the Pokemon card collecting, investing, trading. Hold on. Buy, sell, collect, vend, trade. What else? What else is
Buy,
it?
sell, trade, collect, vend, grade.
Yes.
It rhymes. He made it rhyme.
I got to get a t-shirt, I got to buy, sell, trade, collect,
That's
vend,
pretty
grade.
good.
And we wanted to have him on because, I consume his content. I know Ricky does as well. He's got a lot of really good takes, whether it's English, Japanese, Chinese product, and he does it all. So he's a perfect person to add into our conversation today. So Ern, thank you for being here, man.
Thank you guys for having me. First, it's an honor and a privilege to join you guys' pod. Two handsome looking dudes. I'm the first guest. So I'm very, very thankful. A quick intro myself. I'm a buyer, seller, trader, collector, vendor, grader, just hobbyist. I spent COVID collecting and buying and ripping a lot, and then throughout the years amassed a giant collection where I accidentally just invested, and so I had a bunch of great things. Over the last few years, I focused more on selling and vending, and I'm a big proponent of people really understanding the value of what they have, understanding how to sell, and don't be too zombie brain and invest into things left and right. So my channel really is just me talking to myself, the car, for many hours. And in this day and age, because you can reduce the noise cancellation, like you can record anything in a car and it'll be crystal clear.
Yeah.
So I just like to record my thoughts and talk about the market and collecting, and apparently people like to watch, so it's worked out.
Yeah, thank you, man. And again, I think everyone will kind of realize as we go along here that you've got not only a lot of good stuff to say, but you think about the hobby in a unique way, and you're trying to find opportunities where others are maybe chasing trends. And so I'd love to hear more about that from you. Let's recap really
I'm not going
quickly.
to share too much with you, Jake. Just
say it again.
I don't want to share too much with you.
Oh yeah, well, you don't have to give up too much free game on the internet. Don't worry. But let's maybe recap really quickly our live stream from 2 weeks ago. Ricky, tell us a little bit about what we chatted about and what the people can go back and review if they missed it.
Yeah, last time we were talking about the state of card shows. So are they here to stay? Are they growing? Are we at the top? We talked about a bunch of different signals to kind of understand the health of the card show scene. And obviously we did our usual traditional topics in the tall grass that we'll do today as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And to kind of maybe highlight the reason we had that topic last week, the evidence that we are in a crazy market for card shows. You were at the West Coast Card Show in SoCal, which was a 1,200 table show. Then the following weekend, I was in SoCal for San Diego Front Row, which was the same exact weekend as the Anaheim Collectors Expo. And then now the following weekend, I'm going back down for Pasadena Front Row. So we're talking about in the same geographical area, 4 enormous shows in 3 weekends. So that is what we are going through. So that's, if you have an interest to understand kind of our opinions on that topic, then go back and watch that stream from last week. But we are not in last week or 2 weeks ago. We are in today. We are in the here and the now. And so let's dive into some of our traditional topics. Number one being, we're going to each share a personal collection pickup that we have made recently, or just something we haven't shown before. So everyone knows that we are also collectors at heart. And I'd like to call out maybe Ern first to share his personal collection item.
Agreed.
So I will say I do collect Machamps and Electro.
Oh, nice.
And I also say I kind of cheated because I wanted to show like 3 different things.
That's fair.
So the first, it's just a simple, Heart Gold Soul Silver Japanese Reverse Hollow Machamp.
Cool.
If you're unaware, in Japanese, they come in reverse hollow and regular. So, it's just real basic, simple stuff.
Beautiful card. Probably super low pop. in a reverse hollow there.
A little pop, plus nobody wants it, so see where it goes. I think it was like 50 or 75 bucks. The other thing I wanted to share was I picked this because this is probably my favorite booster box art. This is a Sun and Moon set called Champion Road.
Oh yeah. The Champions Path equivalent, right?
Not quite. It's way worse than that. The top hits in this set are the Rainbow Electro GX and the Rainbow Scissor GX.
Wow.
That's it. But the art, this is like any Japanese seal collector from this era is like, this is probably the best.
That is very cool, but not something you should open, is what you're saying.
You could probably buy all the singles for the price of the box, for half the price of the box.
Right.
Last, and I promise, I got my Slab Lab displays.
Yo,
I wanted to, showcase all my UTVs.
Yeah. Oh man, you're giving out free game on the internet. Now everybody knows I should stockpile Mewtwo V.
Yeah. I'm trying to collect them in all the different languages, like
Okay.
Indonesian and Thai, but they are incredibly hard to find. So I only have English and Japanese for now. That's all I got.
I love it. Ricky, what do you got, man?
Yes, one that I'm really excited about. This is the official unveil of something I've been working on for a little while.
Oh wow!
So people are going to know what it is as soon as I show the first thing. But I think it was the last stream. I showed everybody that I got this back.
Oh yes,
from PSA. Something I subbed myself. I bought the card on eBay, and it's got a swirl on it. So for anyone new to the stream or new to my channel, I've been collecting this card. I pulled one in the back seat of a car as a kid. It's a very nostalgic card for me. I sold it on eBay at that time in like 99 or 2000, 2001, somewhere in that range, around 2001. So it's just a very nostalgic card. And I decided I was going to get them PSA 1 through 10, but they have to all have swirls on them. And so I got the one last time, and I already had 2.
Mm-hmm.
I already had 3.
Oh wow!
Now, how big did the swirl have to be?
The full swirl, Ern. Full swirl or nothing.
Full swirl, no half swirls.
We do have some half swirls, but if there's a half swirl, I like it to be like 2 half swirls kind of situation. There are some I will eventually upgrade. Okay, so since the last stream, I did not have a 5. And so this 5, has the swirl right on the wing. And I won that one on eBay. And then somebody who watches the stream, I believe, said, I've got a 6 in my personal collection. And so for anyone who's keeping score, 7, 8, 9, and 10.
Nice.
The collection is complete.
Now, which one's your favorite? You can't say 10.
Yeah. And honestly, I actually don't think the 10 is my favorite. Some of these have a really cool swirl placement that I'm pretty partial to. Like, I really like the 9 has a nice fat swirl on it. If I can get it in the camera here to focus, has a really big swirl there.
Yeah.
And the 1 is really funny just because somebody reached out, and the 1 is not super high pop, right? There's like 120 or something of them. Somebody reached out and said, there's one that's beat up on eBay, and look how nice that swirl placement is. Wow. And it's got a crease on it. I mean, like, it is a messed up card. So I'm a little partial to this one, as like, this one has a story in the way that I think the 10 probably doesn't.
Those are beautiful, man.
Thank you.
Are those the kind of cards you think you're going to hold on to forever?
I think so. The value is not that crazy. This was just about endeavoring to do this, and now they're all lined up in my hallway, and I get to look at all 10 of them, and people who have no idea about Pokemon cards will come to my house and think I have absolutely lost it. Just 10 of the same card. But yeah, I mean, it puts a little smile on my face, and the whole thing is probably only worth a few grand. It's not that wild. So yeah.
Very
excited.
Cool. It's a true millennial work of art.
Thank you. I appreciate that. What about you, Jake? What'd you pick up?
I picked up the last card that I needed for my wall here. It was this Arceus V PSA 10. So, and in and of itself is not like a huge grail, probably like $150 or something. But I have kind of complex design going on here on the slab wall. And I had all 3 of the other god cards, all 4 of the gold god cards, and then also the Arceus Algopalkia GX Tag Team PSA 10. So I needed this one to kind of complete that 9-card alt-art set of those Gen 4 gods. And it went up on the wall, and now the wall is absolutely filled to the gills. So who knows what we're going to do next? I put out a little notice on Instagram and said, hey, what should I collect next? And everyone gave out really, really expensive ideas. So I'm worried about that. I'm not. Someone was like, you should do all PSA 10 Neo Hollows. And I was like, whoa. So we won't be doing that probably, but I got to figure it out. And the other tough thing is like, and this is just kind of how the Pokemon hobby is. A lot of these cards are alt arts, right? In fact, almost all of them. And, between XY, Sun, Moon, Sword, Shield, and Scarlet, Violet. Well, I started kind of putting this wall together maybe like a month and a half, 2 months ago or so. And since then, there's just, attention has returned to the alt arts. And so a lot of these cards have gone up by 30, 40, 50%. Some of them have doubled in value. Like the Sleepy Mew from Crown Zenith, I got for, like $80, and I think it's like $200 or $300 now. So like the classic decision of what do I do now that I was just doing this kind of when these cards were in a lull and now they're really valuable. I'm feeling personally pressured to sell them. So who knows what I'll do.
Collectors get paid. That's the thing. So,
What's the thing?
Collectors get paid.
Collectors get paid.
Yeah, it's because you started collecting. You get paid by whatever powers above. They decided, hey, we're going to reward you. So
yeah, it's so funny, Ern. And the fact, the way that I interpret that phenomenon is like the fact that you're collecting something means that you like it. And as unique as you think you are, there's probably others who also like what you like because it's cool. And so when you buy cool things in this hobby, oftentimes they appreciate and value, at least in the short term. Sometimes that can happen. There's always swings. So that's a little PC update for me, guys.
Love it.
Let's dive into our favorite Pokemon card deal that we've done since we spoke 2 weeks ago. Now, for Ern, this can be your favorite Pokemon card deal ever, or maybe just in recent memory. But the reason that we talk about this, and I think that you'll agree, is that we both believe that kind of a primary function of this hobby is to not only buy, but also to sell and to, kind of fund your collection and increase growth over time by being savvy at both of those things. And so this could be something you bought that you wanted to flip. This could be something that you sold. This could be a collection that you bought and you kept some, sold some. So take it away. What do you got for us, Ern? Ooh.
So I bought this from our homie, Ricky, low selector.
Yeah, great guy.
This is a Double Crisis Japanese first edition booster box.
Wow.
The unlimited one is like impossible to find. This one's actually pretty hard to find too.
Yeah.
I show this because the show that I went to 2 or 3 months ago, and I've been kind of out of the Japanese game for a while, but I know like just through studying and being a fan, like what are the different sets. And I walk by his table, I'm like, you never see that box. And he wanted a good price for it. And, it took me a couple hours, but I sat there and I just said, I think all my hard work's paid off. Like, no, I'm pretty sure nobody's asking about this box because they don't know what it is, right?
Yeah.
But the value in those 2 full arts. So in that box, both the full arts come in, guaranteed.
Oh, both of the magma.
Cat's out of the bag.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, both of the cards come in this box.
No wonder there's so many sequential copies. I'm out here tripping.
Yeah. So I actually had to ask my friend Rob, Red or Blue, who was there. He was like, yeah, they both come out of the box. And I didn't know that either. And so, I bring this up because it's like tapping my resource of a friend, understanding Japanese, recognizing something that's rare and niche. The box doubled in a month. So it went from, I paid like $2,300.
Wow.
the cards in a PSA 10 went from, they retraced it a bit now, but they went up to like 2,200.
Yeah. There were people selling sequential sets for 5K.
Yeah. So, I share it because it's like I got blessed with an opportunity from just being a nerd and learning this stuff and being connected with the right people and friends, and it just fell into my lap. So yeah, I don't think I'm ever gonna sell it. Actually, I lied. I will sell that at like 10K. If someone wants to offer me 10K, I will sell it for 10K.
Yeah, there's always a
I'm
price.
kidding. It's always a price. Ricky, there's always a price.
There's
by the
always a
way.
price. There's always a price.
Good luck with your
That's
Luger.
awesome, man. Congrats on that pickup. Fun deal. And with a good guy. Not a guy who creates a lot of content or anything, but a absolute like mainstay guy in our local vending scene and a really, really nice guy to deal with. So shout out Los Selector Collectibles.
What do you got for us, Ricky?
I got two. One I'll be short on just because I made a video on it. So this week's video on my channel was a collection buyout. Somebody reached out to me. They watch a channel, local guy, super nice, like not in the local card scene. And he had about a 16K collection of sealed promos, Chinese cards, like fan art boxes, a bunch of English sealed. So if you haven't seen that, that was go check out that video. It's a chill little watch and fun collection to look through. So that was sort of my favorite deal since the last stream. But because I did a video on that, the other one that comes to mind is actually very early at West Coast Card Show. Somebody came up to my table. So Joel, if you're watching, what's up, man? He said, I was watching the Midweek Machamps and I was wondering if I could convince you to sell the swallowed up Pikachu, which was the card I showed at the very, very end of that stream when we were doing our Elite Forecast. And I was like, I thought about not putting it on the table, but it is on the table and it is priced correctly. And I'd have to be right around that price. And we ended up making a nice deal. He showed me a list of cards that he was looking for, and they were very like not super hype cards. Like he was a true collector. Like there were these kind of obscure Japanese cards and things like that. So he picked up that swallowed up Pikachu PSA 10 and 3 PSA 10 Unigaba cards, and add a little cash. And I traded for Greninja Twilight Masquerade. So those Greninjas haven't been PSA 10 specifically. Those haven't been selling for me, but I think their value's gone up recently. And I have 3 of them just because I keep like taking them in trades and then not selling them at shows. So not the end of the world, but yeah, it was, I was really excited to do a deal with a true collector and somebody who watches. And it was just one of those like obscure, like it was a bit of a deep cut. Like it was at the very end of that stream and very end and the very beginning of the show and kind of an obscure card. So yeah, it's a fun deal.
Nice deal. And that's one of the cool things I think about making content in general. There's been so many times where I show a card or, a card pops up in one of the videos that we've made. And, that's kind of like maybe the first time someone's ever encountering it. And they're like, oh, sure, I need that one. Like my little brother and I, we put out a childhood collection binder video yesterday. And I think we said pretty explicitly, like, we are not intending to ever sell any of the cards that we found in this binder. And yet we still got tons of messages like, hey, I need this specific card that you have in the binder. And it's like, sorry, that's not what we're doing with it. So very cool that was able to come to fruition for you, Ricky.
Jake, I was going to say, you guys had a stacked childhood. Like, that's a real binder.
Okay,
the rest of us had like moderately played, base set, just random stuff, and you guys have
I should say and
best binder.
It's kind of hard to catch because we said it like probably somewhere at the beginning, but my little brother he did get cards passed down from him from myself and my older brother, but we never really opened any packs, and we all we ever got were just like maybe some dupes of non-holo cards and stuff like that from friends around the schoolyard. But the reason that collection is so packed is because he opened up some cards as a kid. My little brother, he got mine and my older brother's cards, and then a whole bunch of our cousins on my dad's side, as they kind of aged out of the hobby like most of us did. They were like, okay, like, what should we do with these cards? They're my aunts and uncles. And so they all realized that Trey, my little brother, was still in the hobby. collecting cards and playing the games. And so they all just kind of filtered to him. And so that's not one kid's collection. That's like 8 kids' collections all in that one binder. So we were not well off, but we were hand-me-down millionaires, if you can understand that.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
Love it. Yeah. What's Jake? I don't think you've shared your favorite deal since the last stream.
Yeah. As many of you guys know, we're starting to do some live streams and stuff and open packs and trying to build a community here on YouTube and also on Drip. And so when I'm at these shows, people kind of know that we're open to buying a lot of sealed product, whereas before we were kind of holding off on buying big collections. And so, but yeah, in San Diego, we had a lot of sealed come in, and specifically one person sold us like 800 loose packs, all of various different sets, like tons of prismatic and black bolt and sword and shield sets. And that was really cool to get and to bring back home, and also like collection boxes and stuff too. One thing that I think is kind of fun about what we're doing is that it would seem kind of obvious to like only want like loose packs or whatever, just because they're really easy to transport and open, but we're having a fun time like selling sealed collection boxes and opening them live on the stream, because so many people, like for some of those Sword and Shield or Sun and Moon or even XY boxes, like they've never even seen them, let alone been able to open them. And so it's been a lot of fun, and shout out to all those who are willing to risk it for the biscuit and open up some of those boxes with us. So yeah, that was one of the fun deals I remember from San Diego.
That's awesome. Nice. Okay. Are we? Well, hey, someone in the chat is specifically here for Ern. So we love it. This is why we bring on the guests that the people want.
Yes. Thank you, Ern. You're padding our live viewership with your audience. Thank you.
Anytime.
We love it. I think it's time for us to get into the tall grass. Maybe we should let everybody know that we're going to get into the tall grass. Then we're going to talk about our main topic of the day, which today is going to be the viability of Pokemon as a business. Is it a legitimate business? We've got different folks, different ends of the spectrum in terms of full-time versus part-time and side hustle with corporate jobs in this call. So we're going to have a friendly debate today. And then we'll do Q&A with the chat in the latter half hour or so. And we'll hang out with the chat all throughout the show. I think it's time for us, though, to get into the tall grass. What do you think, guys?
I'm ready. We may encounter some Pokemon, so be on your guard.
Okay. Well, as we're venturing through, I think we're running into some far-fetched ideas. It's the first thing that we're running into here in the tall grass.
You encountered a far-fetched. What do you do, Ricky?
I think we have to share a hot take, because otherwise the far we're gonna what's the pun here? We're gonna leak trade secrets.
Oh, Jesus.
Oh man, your hot take's going to be a critical hit with your leak in hand.
Yeah. Oh boy. Okay. Okay. Let's. I'm liking the starting with our guest here. Ern, do you want to share a far-fetched idea? This can be a bit of a hot take. It can be a hot take prediction. It can be a hot take about the hobby in general. I know you're full of good ideas and maybe a couple bad ones, so we're down to hear any of them.
Yeah, I mean, I'm full of ideas. They're not all good. Yeah, I've had this thought for a while, really since Japan decided to reprint Paradigm Trigger, Lost Abyss, Shiny Treasure, and a lot of the early Scarlet and Violet sets. I think we're going to be entering a very long and cold winter of Japanese sealed product. And hear me out. I think part of it's because there's a lot of not great sets in Japanese, like half sets, a third set of what they are in English. And I think rip and ship culture is very much about here and now, like what's hot today, what's hot this month. And so, I see the price sheets for some of these sets, like I forgot the name of the Mask of Transformation, Night Wonder, Mask of Change, all these sets, and it's like still 40, 50 bucks, still 40, 50 bucks. I look at the card list, it's like, I really don't like any of those cards. And so, I think people tend to forget they printed a lot of the Japanese product to meet global demand.
Yeah.
Not just Japanese demand.
Yeah.
And so, if you're buying a lot of this stuff in the short to mid-term, I think there's going to be a lot of sets that are just duds. And by the way, if you go back to like early Sword and Shield and parts of Sun and Moon in Japanese, those sets don't even sell. Some of them are just like dead weight, dead money.
And even like good sets are in like I've bought and sold like Dream League boxes and stuff like that. And you would think because Cosmic is so expensive right now that Dream League would like be just as explosive in value, but like what it's like still $500 or $600 or whatever, right?
Yeah, well, I'm a sleeper investor into Japanese Sun and Moon. I think it's slept on. It's incredibly undervalued, but I agree. It's still stagnant. It has not gone back up to I think it peaked at like $800 or something like that during the Japanese boom a couple of years ago. But yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah.
Ern, you don't think people might turn to Japanese, like cheaper Japanese boxes if the prices and the availability of modern English boxes continues to do what it seems like it's going to continue doing, which is be expensive and be scarce?
Well, I think they will for the good sets.
Okay.
Like Glorio Team Rocket, Heat Wave. I mean, Super Electric's pushing like $90 a box, right? So it's still out there. Hey, Grimer, how are you doing, man? The good sets I think are going to have legs. It's the sets are kind of like, you can't, it's like whatever the Scarlet Violet version of this set is, that's the kind of stuff I think it's just going to be dead weight, dead money. And I know there's people out there and channels out there that really pump like cheap Japanese boxes, invest into this and buy this, like hold it for the long term. But I really don't think that's going to work out for a lot of these sets.
Okay.
Very interesting. That is quite a take.
Far-fetched idea.
I'll go next. Mine's kind of short and half-baked because as I was looking through this wall that I had put together, I was just kind of like reviewing, hey, I wonder what some of these cards are worth and what have they done in the last few months since I bought them, and where's the attention at? And I was taking a look at this here Giratina V alt art from Lost Origin, guys. And it looks to me like it's going for about $2,200 to $2,300 right now on a PSA 10. And my hot take is that is still undervalued. And the reason being is I personally believe Lost Origin will be on par, if not overtake Fusion Strike for the second most expensive set in Sword and Shield. And the Giratina V alt is the hardest to grade chase card from those kind of final sets from Sword and Shield. Lowest PSA 10 pop rate. I think it's like less than half of the Lugia V, something like that. Anyways, there's a lot of them. There's thousands of them in a 10. But yeah, I think this Giratina long term is a 3K card, guys. That's my take.
3K.
Lost Origin investors are all happy that you just said that.
Yeah, that's so true. And there's a lot of them because those reprint boxes that were going for $80 a piece, I'm sure there are a few people that have quite a few of those.
I don't have.
I'm very guilty of that.
Are you?
I hold the most Lost Origin of any other set.
Oh, really?
Ern's like pump.
Yes.
I don't have a ton. I bought a case on Pokemon Center just for MSRP. It was like under $1,000 or something like that shipped. So yeah, they were very available at the time. And actually it was like days before they sold out on Pokemon Center. Jake, not to give you too much of a Gyarados of reality, but that is quite similar to your far-fetched idea from our first stream. You got to go back and watch it. The astute viewers will know that you talked about this in the first stream.
I talked about the Lost Origin box.
No, you talked about the Giratina V. Go back and watch it. Go back and watch it. Just go
Oh,
back and watch
man.
it. It's fine.
You
It
need
was
more
you,
sleep, buddy.
you
Guys on the
gave it
broken record.
you gave it a different spin this time, and I thought of letting you off the hook, but this is just not what we do here, Jake.
Guys,
We're gonna hold each
I'm
other
on
accountable.
Oh,
How much
man.
lost order do you actually hold there, Jake? Tell us.
Not as much as you earn, so
Yeah.
I'm not even pumping bags, okay? It's you. You
Oh
were
my
the
God.
guest. I wanted to make you feel good and welcome.
That's a hilarious take. Like Jake just has a ton of Lost Origin, and every stream he's like, I've never said this out loud before. Lost Origin.
No one's thinking this but me, but let me say it anyways.
Let me just say it again. No one's ever said this. No, it's just
Oh,
someone can probably back me up. Anyone who's watched the streams and maybe remembers that it was a different enough take that we'll let it slide, but it was similar.
dang. Yeah.
It's all good, man. It's a tough.
I'm coming back with a crazy take for you, Ricky, next time.
Hey, it's a tough one. I've suggested that maybe we rotate some of these, and I think Farfetch Ideas is a tough one. I'll do mine. Yeah. Hey, someone said it wasn't deja vu. Yes, it wasn't deja vu. That's correct.
All right. Here's new
okay.
New take.
Whoa.
Hollow Japanese graded Lugias are all gonna crash.
Okay. We'll take it. We'll take
Especially those with swirls.
Yeah, that's really specific.
Yeah.
It's a really specific take.
It
I'm
is.
not
It's
sure if
hard,
anything could have possibly inspired you for that take.
I'm getting crushed. Move on. I'm getting crushed in the comments because of you, Ricky. Move on, Mike.
Sorry. Okay. We'll move on. I'll do my hot take, and people will be mad at me instead. My far-fetched idea is that AI grading is not as close as everyone thinks it is, or everyone seems to think. When I say everyone, I'm talking about like if you make a video with the word tag anywhere in it, there will be comments. There will be comments, and the reason I think AI grading is not as close is because as of right now, there's not like any particular indication that any of the major few grading companies are like truly working on it. The smaller companies that are working on it don't seem to be improving very fast, likely because they need a ton of training data, and people are sending way more cards because people who are grading often care about the value. So they're sending them the PSA or maybe BGS or CGC, but they're not as often sending them a tag. Not to say that tag isn't getting a lot, but they need a lot of training data to perfect this. And then the other thing is like on the AI model front, AI model improvement recently has slowed down a little bit. In a relative sense, it's still moving very fast, but in a relative sense, it's slowed down a little bit recently. And I do think that we will get there, just not as soon as people think. And another one of the kind of factors in that is once they get really good, I think the older, like let's say older tags, or there's some others like SGC, or there's some of these others that do AI grading. Older ones will no longer be as valuable. Like an old tag, an old cert tag will be totally meaningless when tag is finally perfected it. So everyone's gonna have to like regrade it. So there's gonna be this like these weird tranches and waves, even when the technology is there, and it isn't yet, the market will still lag behind that. So I think we're like, even if the technology is there in 2 years, it might take 2 years from there for everyone to accept it in the right way.
Yeah, that's I mean, coming from someone who's in the industry there, Ricky, I'm sure that what you're seeing them do with like people's actual cards and therefore their actual money, and kind of training their models on people's actual property is it probably feels a little weird for you to observe. And I completely agree. One thing that I've thought like there could be a competitive advantage is that they have this idea of like this 100-point scale.
Totally.
And so there could be this, premium value on the, 99th percentile or whatever it's going to be as far as the quality of the cards. But that also means that you're going to have tag 10s that are in the 95th and worst percentile that are probably going to be like PSA 8 value or something like that, which probably is going to feel terrible.
Yeah, I've thought about this topic a lot. I actually don't think it matters how great their AI is. What they need to do, what any grading company needs to do, is you have to outpace the number of submissions that PSA gets. Because it doesn't matter how true your grading is, PSA is literally what 10, 50, 100 times the size of these companies.
Oh,
So even
like
if you
the
have
price
the
of tag
best
is gotta be like
product,
1,000 times bigger.
yeah, like even if you have the best product, you have to outpace what they did 1,000 times month over month over month over month. And so it's like it doesn't really matter what the technology is. I think trying to get more accessibility to grading is probably the thing to solve for. I hate saying that because I really like technology and AI, and like I think it's interesting, but
Totally.
like most people don't read pop reports. Most people don't even know what generate means, you know?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
more data is not going to make it easier for people to
Mm.
understand. I think it I think people generally just want to understand, is this good or bad? Not
Yeah, I think, and
anything
it
else.
seems like that's kind of the direction they're trying to go with these like in-person grading, kiosks or
Mhm.
robots or whatever they're going to be called. But at the end of the day, like that just turns your tech company into a service company, which, that kind of, if you're going to be a service company, now you are directly competing with PSA and their resources and their longevity. And yeah, it's an uphill battle for sure. And someone mentioned about acquisition here.
Yeah.
That seems to me to be the only play. I mean, this is a company that's taken on venture capital, right, Ricky? Like whether it's from like a well-known VC firm or private investors, like I'm familiar with them taking venture capital, and so it seems like those people are going to be probably wanting a nice exit and not necessarily thinking it's going to turn into the next PSA.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, I don't know the details as to whether there are or aren't other grading companies taking on venture capital, but generally speaking, it's very, very hard to do anything in AI right now competitively without venture capital. It's just expensive. The development's expensive. Even just tokens, if you use third-party models, is expensive. So, yeah, this idea, I've thought this before, that a company like PSA, rather than developing it, might do an acquisition and pull these in, but pull like this capability and by acquisition. I could see that happening. I could also see there being a conflict. I don't know, like the tinfoil hat version of this would be that PSA doesn't want AI grading to happen at all, and maybe they delay that for as long as possible. That would be the tinfoil
They're
hat.
not incentivized to do it.
Exactly.
I mean,
right.
Sorry, there's not that much incentive. I shouldn't say not at all.
Right.
Yeah, in my mind, it seems like if a company that provides AI grading gets big enough to like legitimately compete, then you're just going to have kind of a war of opinions about the more reliable way to grade. Is it a computer or is it a professional with years of experience and all this kind of stuff? And it seems to me like PSA would be happy to spend their money on marketing dollars rather than on buying a company that would then directly compete with their entire legacy of card grading.
Do you guys know Melissa or Dennis? PSA?
No.
They are amongst my circle of friends. They're the ones who send upcharge emails. So if I no longer get emails from them, I'll be very upset. AI, stay away from Dennis and Melissa.
Those are always bittersweet emails. I've been there.
Yep. Yeah, there's a good take here from Hunter7, or maybe just a good shout out. I think this was Java Akuma did a video, and I think he's overall a kind of an underrated creator in this space.
Yeah,
so if you're watching
I
Java,
agree.
what's up, man? He's been doing it for a little while and has, just, every so often absolutely strikes gold with an idea and does this like really high effort, like months long grading and regrading thing. And it definitely was a little eye-opening about this. And Sal had kind of mentioned about dense. This is one of the things I think is hard. Like people have asked me, like, what do you think of like pre-grading apps? And I'm like, dude, pre-grading in 2 dimensions from a camera, it doesn't like, I can show you 2 photos of a card and make it look like a 10. And then you move it sideways and it has a huge dent in the middle, and you just in the right light or flat on the table, you don't see it. Those are the kinds of things that, like, I think you have to develop something that can grade the card in multiple directions, and that it's hard enough as it is. So it's part of what I'm saying. Like, and we might be years away from the technology being there, and then years after that away from people accepting it, like on a market-wide basis.
Well, that's the thing. You're years away from the technology, but then in order to develop technology, you have to have resources up front about an unproven and maybe legitimately unwanted technology. And spending money on unwanted technologies is an excellent way to go extremely broke.
Indeed. Indeed. We got another from Killer Cards, another local Bay Area guy. Another vote for Ernie being mad cute. So Ernie came in and called us the handsome guys, but the chat is absolutely just simping for our guy Ern here.
Birds of a feather fly together, I've heard.
Ironically enough, I've given all these people money in some way, shape, or form. So, yeah.
You've cut them really beneficial deals in person.
Perfect.
Cut deals, get comments.
All right. I think we got a vote for me as the cutest. We're gonna do this now. This is gonna be
a far-fetched idea.
This is the rest of the stream. It's just everyone debating who's the cutest.
Oh, Yama clears Ern is crazy.
I'm getting old, man. I'm not gonna fight that fight.
No, man, you look awesome. You look great. And this guy might be biased. Hellalute is a very early viewer of my channel and a very awesome supporter. So okay, I think that is it for our far-fetched ideas. I think we have leaked enough information, and it's time to continue into the tall grass as Ernie disapproves, because we do have a lot of Hitmon topics we could be discussing this week.
Yeah, there's going to be punches flying, kicks whirring as we review the Hitmon topics.
Yes.
Number one, let's dive into this. Poncho Pikachu, specifically PSA 10 cards, down 30% off of their highs that were just recently, maybe back in June or so. What are we thinking about this?
Expected.
Say more.
I mean, I have to give props to Dan Ketchum Collectibles, because he said this, I don't even remember, in a live like months ago. He's like, they're gonna retrace because these things never hold up. And I think when you really break down, like, all right, who has this much money? Who's incentivized to get this much money? The logic starts to fall apart when you start counting, like, okay, how many buyers are there actually really of these expensive cards? And, I don't think it's reasonable to expect thousands of ponchos to keep these prices from here on out, unless there's like a magical hand that's keeping the prices up. Infinite money. And I think this is the second time I've seen a big retrace in ponchos. I've seen it happen before. It's happened again. It's not surprising. It doesn't mean that they're going to go to zero, but I think like there's always these at these certain dollar points, there's just a lot of price resistance that it doesn't always linearly go up, right? It there's a lot of ceilings. It retraces, might cool down, might go back up, and so I don't know. It's expected.
Yeah. In my mind, Ern, it's like it's not just a ceiling in price that's like arbitrary. I think it has a lot to do with the average collector seeing the opportunity cost of their money. And they're looking at some of these other cards, or like handfuls of cards or truckloads of cards that you could buy instead of like one of these cards.
Yeah.
And what's the relative enjoyment? What's your relative upside potential if you're talking more about investment or speculation? And and that kind of skepticism will push attention to other sectors, other generations, other languages, whatever it may be. And then where the attention goes, the money follows.
So I have one other point I wanted to add. I think too, what's fickle about this entire market and looking at these prices, I haven't looked into exactly how many data points we're talking about, but the fact that there's a lot of conversation around them retracing when this could probably mean 2 or 3 sales, like that's how sensitive people are in the market is to any price change. Whereas like if we were looking at the stock market, right, that's hundreds, if not thousands of transactions a day. Way different, right? So I just wanted to call that out. Like maybe next week they're going to double or do something crazy. I don't know, right? But yeah, that's something to keep in mind.
Yeah, it's a great point. And it's a great call out that like we are in this hobby still very immature, I would say, as it concerns the our sentiment based on our current perception of a trend. And once that sentiment is shared by many people, then the trend self perpetuates. So kind of its own fulfilling prophecy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Josh in the comments had a point on this that I think is valid as well and related to some of the things we were saying here, which is at certain price points, like it's just like anything, it hits sort of a resistance level, right? You see this in all kinds of markets. Like you definitely see it with Bitcoin, right? Like it starts to hit a certain level and it's really hard to push past that level because people just don't want to spend past that level psychologically or literally they can't. In the case of Pokemon cards, you can't buy a fraction of a card. So once cards get up to a certain point, people get priced out. I feel like this is one of the reasons why in recent months for me at shows, slabs have been a little harder to sell to like sort of true collectors as opposed to other vendors. Like a lot of the slab deals I do are with people that are sort of in the Pokemon game in some way. They're vendors or resellers or streamers. A lot of true collectors I think are getting priced out as some of these slabs that used to be $200 a year ago are now $1,000, and they're coming to shows like, yeah, my whole budget's $400. Like I want to get more than one thing or half of a thing. So that pricing out is definitely a factor too.
I'm going to push back on that thought just a little bit though, Ricky, because
Sure.
as I at least personally have seen quite a bit of slab movement in the last 2 shows that I've done. And I think that as you kind of have certain cards prove themselves, they then enter the kind of the interest periphery of a different type of collector who maybe is willing to spend more money, but is only going to spend the money on the things that are pretty proven. But once they are proven, or at least, they can see a lot of sales data at a certain level, they're then willing to open up the checkbook and kind of perceive those cards in a new class.
Agreed. But I think on the point of something like ponchos, like 1 or 2 sales in a certain direction is sometimes enough to scare people about a card moving up or down. Somebody came by my table at West Coast, a vendor, and had the Primal Groudon, like the I forget the exact set it comes from, but
Ancient
you'll know the one.
Ancient
Thank you.
Origins.
Ancient Origins. It was like 4K PSA 10 at the time. And recent sale, I haven't checked the most recent sale, but literally like the day after that, I passed on it. Day after that was like a 2.5 or 6K sale.
Yeah.
So I was like, whew, good. I didn't take that. But also like that's a good example of like why it would be scary, even if you are capable of or able to open the checkbook, is like you need a lot of that sales data to say that this is stable. I think like a Greninja EX from Twilight, like if you're a collector who wanted that, maybe you already have it, but like, and that's going up a little bit, but that card's roughly been the same value, right? It's been like 600 to 850-ish, like since it came out. So that's a good example of a card that like, there's a good precedent that you're not going to lose thousands of dollars the second you buy it if one sale goes a certain direction.
Yeah, it really went for 2.5. That's crazy.
Something like that. Yeah, it was under 3.
Well, the thing is, the following day though, like it had a comp at like 3.8 and then 4. It's like some of these cards that have this meteoric rise, they now have the opportunity to move, at really different price points. And for all we know, that 2.5K sale was someone who like sold it and hadn't really looked at what the comps were going for. Maybe they comped it on price charting before they put it on eBay. Like there's a lot of, if a small gap in knowledge and not being up to speed can result in a card comping for something much different than you thought it would. Like take, for example, this Mewtwo promo from the Ultra Premium Collection from 151 to PSA 10. It's like, what, somebody correct me, like $550 up to $600 maybe right now on a PSA 10. I bet you that there were like hundreds of copies on eBay buy it now for 300 that just got snapped up once there were a couple of comps at 350 and 400. And those sellers are just like, yeah, I made my margin, but like, I kind of wish I had been, watching my listing, or that happens all the time. There's huge waves of purchasing that happen. And the people,
that was like a $3 card for like a year.
It was a free card, Ern. Like
free card.
You got it for free, and people were giving it away for free.
That's crazy.
Wild.
It is. Shout out Mewtwo, shout out Charizard. It's hype season for those two. Oh.
Our next Hitmon topics are going to move into some of the news around new releases. So I went and snuck this one in because I saw this and I quite like these cards. What do we think? And we had some questions in the chat earlier. Someone specifically requested to hear from Ern on Chinese sets.
I'm
So
not Chinese, by the way, but I respect the.
I don't
Yeah.
think that's necessarily what they're implying.
I know, I'm just joking.
Okay. These are awesome. And there's like a really interesting sort of through line theme to them. They all have this sort of like Halloween vibe to me. What do y'all think of this?
You want me to go first?
Sure.
So I have a pretty solid history with Simplified Chinese when it first came out. I bought hundreds of cards. Charizard VMAX Rainbow, Umbreon GX, a bunch of the cards I wanted to grade them. I basically made like no money. I thought I was getting in early. China's huge. Simplified Chinese is a huge release, and I didn't make money, so I stayed away. And when Gem Pack Volume 1 came, I was like, there's no way exclusives are going to change this. Because bear in mind, exclusives in the past in Chinese didn't do anything. And we had that Victini promo, which is not in Chinese, but it's in Indo or Thai. The one that's going for like 4K, 5K. You know what I'm talking about? The tournament promo one. That card sat at like a couple $100 forever. But I think what I've learned throughout this process and where the market is now, every time we get a boom, people come in and they're just grabbing whatever they can that's new, exclusive, shiny. And so what do I think about these cards? I think the arts are cool. I've recently bought into Umbreon, Captain Pikachu, the Lollipop Licking Arcanine, and a few others. It's a great opportunity because the market is basically telling us like this is what people want. And so, you know, I buy, sell, trade, all that stuff. I follow the money. I have my own opinions and I've had to change them. People want this stuff, and you know, if people want it, that's where I'm going to be.
For me, it's as simple as something you kind of touched on there, Ern, which is like the market has proven that they are willing to pay a lot of money for these cards of Pokemon, you know, with a full art situation, kind of, you know, candid in their environment or whatever it's going to be. Like that is true from since I started doing it in X and Y, that those are the best cards in the generation, going through to Sun Moon with the tag team alt arts and Sword and Shield, and now SIRs and IRs. Like, and then if you're going to have a language that's going to have exclusive artwork, then like it doesn't really matter what language it is. The collector's going to want it because they're beautiful. And if they're only in Chinese, then that's going to buoy up the Chinese market in general. It's going to make them desirable.
I don't have anything to add that you guys didn't say. These are cool. As a Gengar collector, I'll probably need to have that. I collect some Serial Edge as well. I mean, these are sweet cards, and the exclusivity is definitely a great way to get people to pay attention to new segment or language like this. So, all right, maybe the obvious low hanging fruit to talk about today for our final Hitmon topic is Phantasmal Flames. Or as Ern said in a video right before coming to this, Phantasmal Fumes. I mean, they really went and put a Charizard and a Gengar in the same set.
I have one worry.
Go ahead, Jake.
My one worry is that it's such a small set. I didn't realize it was so small, and I'm worried that it might have a little bit of Champions Path issues for that reason. Where like if you don't get those one or two chase cards, then it's just kind of a dud. Now, because we're in such a strong market for nude products and anything sealed that's new, and you could have maybe a small chance of getting it retail, like it's all going to sell out. But I'm curious to see what the opening experience is like.
Yeah, I had to talk about it to myself in the car today, so I recorded the video, which is what I uploaded today, about the history of Charizard sets, going from Darkness Ablaze to Champion's Path to Brilliant Stars to the specialty UPC, Charizard UPC. And I think everyone should take a deep breath and really think and feel the feeling that you have right now for this set, write it down. And then when it comes out, revisit that feeling, because time and time again, just because there's a Zard in the set, it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be a great set. I'm very excited for this set, though, I will say. Gengar, Zard, the set construction. I'm actually more excited than Japanese because I know the print quality is going to be better. I like how Japanese XY cards on the Megas have the English text instead of the Japanese text. So I'm generally just excited for this release. I am wary, though, that we are peak market, and it is a smaller set. So it does scare me. And I did not have great luck with Champion's Path. Like, I opened
No one did.
100, 150 packs before I hit my Rainbow Zard. So, I'll go for the pre-orders, the UPC, the ETBs, maybe one of each, but I'll probably just, see how it goes.
Yeah, makes sense. Do we even know Gengar will have an SIR in this? I mean, it hasn't been confirmed, but would they have they recently ever put Mons on the pack art that didn't have an SIR in the set? Like, I'm thinking of Surging, I think has all four of them. Like, I'm trying to think of these pack arts. They probably will.
Flames has a Tyranitar pack art with no T-Tar SIR, which is a crying shame, first of all. So it does happen from time to time.
Yeah, good shout.
But like Phantasmal Flames, like Phantasm is referring to Gengar and Ghost type Pokemon. Like, I think it's pretty much a lock.
Yeah. Some people are asking, like, does it not have the same number of hits as a bigger set? I think like Stellar Crown is a pretty small set, and when you look at that set compared to some of the other SV era sets, it really has less in it. There's less to chase in there. So a smaller set, there's some precedent that means there are fewer illustration rares and like major SIRs to chase. What do you guys think?
I think it's not just the same number of hits, but it's like also just the total card count. It's going to make the opening experience where, like, if you open more than a box or two, you're just going to be pulling so many duplicates.
Yeah.
And now, because we're in rip and ship, culture right now, a streamer might open, 1,000 packs in a night of a brand new set, let's say, and that's going to be opened by, 150 different people. And so maybe they don't really care about the dupes because they're only going in for 10, 20 packs or so. But still, it's like that kind of stuff, I think, does impact the general perception of a set. Like, there's a reason that Obsidian Flames was pretty late to the party as far as SV sets that have gone up in value to the 250 or 300 mark, right?
Yeah. Totally. I just looked up Journey Together, by the way. It has 159 cards. And I remember going into Journey, there's pretty good hype for Journey.
There was.
And then that weekend, it's like, oh, you can just pull whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's so easy to pull stuff. And then afterwards, now Journey Together's not a great set. So,
yeah. The one thing I do want to say, though, here is, like, this is all just caveats. The fact is, this is a Charizard set going into the holiday season that also has a Gengar in it. Like, as far as, like, set desirability, like, people are going to buy this box to the ground. You will never find this at 100%. Retail, at least not this year.
Yeah.
So I don't want anyone to think that we are bearish on this set's value.
No, I mean, it could totally be a $300 box. Like, it's gonna be.
Yeah, it's gonna be
$300. If they experience similar issues with distribution as they have already admitted to with the first mega set. This is going to be a $400 box at release. The first mega set might be a $400 box at release.
Yeah.
Now, the other thing to think about that we shouldn't really get into, but I can't help it, is like, we're talking about sets that now are like back to back to back to back sets with like record hype. and yet the Pokemon Company is still going to somehow be able to print to demand on all the sets that have come out in the last 12 months. Like there's no way. There's no way. Some of these sets are not getting reprints, and they will be expensive forever.
Probably, man. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, it's hard to say on reprints, but you and I talked about this on one of the either the second or the third stream, that there's like typically people say there's like a 9-month sort of window or delay to the printing runs, and we are officially past the 9-month point, or right around that 9-month point, from when things really started to pick up in terms of the hype, with like Surging Sparks in November and Prismatic I think was in January. So we are officially right at the 9-month mark. So if we're not seeing massive increases in print compared to demand right now, it's going to be tough out there for this set.
Yeah. But what does that even look like? Massive increases in print? Like, we're already talking about every single time there's a restock, the person is stocking the shelves beyond overflowing, and then it's gone the same day.
Yeah. I mean, some people pointed out in the chat about the botting problem, that there was something in a Discord, allegedly someone botted 42,000 orders before the product was live, and like I think like no humans were able to check out. Solving this would probably help a little bit with we do this before print run. I don't know. It just that's a tough one.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe that's why this set's small, by the way.
What,
that's
trying to
a good
get
point,
people?
Ern. Maybe they
by
make
design
it small so they can actually print enough of each individual one.
I mean, it costs less to increase the amount of cards, increase the amount of quantity of the same cards to print than it does to increase the number of cards total in a set and the total amount of cards to print. So
it's a great point.
Who knows? Yeah. Still gonna be $400 a box.
Yeah. It's gonna be hard to tell how that ages. It's gonna be hard to prove, but that is a good point. All right, those are some good Hitmon topics. Should we move on to a Gyarados of reality?
Yeah, maybe if you guys are okay, because we've already chit-chatted so much on these other topics, maybe we only do this one at the top and then we go to our main topic. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I was thinking just the one.
Okay. Let's leave it to Ern then, because this was his brilliant idea.
So
which one?
Ern, this our Gyarados of reality here is this concept of everyone's investing.
Oh yeah. Let me think about this. Yeah. So I think there's this general sentiment that everyone's an investor now. Everyone's buying to invest. And I think part of that's probably driven because of a lot of the YouTube content. Like, anyone could make a channel and say, these are the best investments. Fun fact, it's literally impossible to lose money in Pokemon right now. It's like very, very difficult. And sealed booster boxes in particular, I think most people will agree, if you just hold the thing for long enough, it's going to go up. I don't, though, think that everyone is an investor. I think a lot of people like to think that they are, but I would say most people are probably just glorified flippers, because as soon as they see profit, you pay $200 a box, $250, you get to 300, 350. You can preach the, hold for 5 years, it's going to go up to 1,000 all you want. Most people aren't going to do that. And I speak a lot from experience because I have invested for a long time. Many of the people in the previous era and the previous era before that, they're like nowhere to be found, right? People will take profits wherever they can. I do think something people should keep in mind or be wary of is it's not the number of people who are investing that will impact the market. It's the people who are ultra high net worth, who have the ability to shape the market, move the market. I think they are probably influencing sealed, slabs, ponchos, more than the average person knows or thinks. So anyway, that's my opener. Toss it to you guys.
What do you think, Jake?
Mostly by paper hands.
In my mind, the answer to this question just comes down to like, what do we see in other areas of of financial, activity, and the relative levels of financial literacy in those areas, right? So if we look at traditional investments, although there's so much content and information out there about owning index funds, or having a balanced portfolio, diversified, and percentage of stocks versus bonds, and you should have a 401k and all this kind of stuff, it's still a minority of people who participate in that world at all. And if they do, maybe it's not until their later 40s, 50s, 60s, and beyond. Like most people our age, they have capital because they're working, but they need it. They have expenses. They have families. They're moving across the country. They're traveling the world. They're, all of the things. And I would say that the majority of the people that are investing in Pokemon cards, like you said, are hoping that what they have is going to go up in a year and then they'll sell it for double, which works in a market like this. And so don't knock it till you try it. And I understand that, how can you rule out that being a possibility? But what we're talking about in investments, I think, is more about a longer time horizon, maybe, is how we're defining it. And although we're in a marketplace where that time horizon has been shortened in order for you to reach maybe the gains you were anticipating at the beginning of your purchase or your investment, we're going to see the same way, with sets from Sword and Shield. There's going to be people who their Destined Rivals boxes, whenever they do get to 500, they're going to sell because that was the number in their mind. Or, they have an expense come up and they're ready to make that transition. And as the people, like you said, Ern, who are the high net worth people who are willing to get involved, they are always buying all the way up dollar cost averaging because they make money all the way. And they don't have a need for the capital in the short term. So, yeah, I agree with you. I think that there are a lot of people that are holding sealed product right now, but I wouldn't define all of them as investors.
Yeah,
Well said.
I agree with that. I think Mikey said something really similar to some of the things that you're touching on, and that was sort of the point that I was going to make, which is that idea that people move on like a 1 or 2 year time horizon, and that's not the way that people typically treat their traditional investments, like their 401k or in whatever index funds. It's like unless you liquidate it to buy a house, you probably hold on those index funds for 20 or 40 years. And a vast majority of people that buy a little bit of sealed product here and there, or even a medium amount of sealed product, for one, it's not enough to move the markets the way that those whales are. And for another, the second they're up 2x or they're down a little bit, they sell. You see it all the time. So I see it at shows all the time. So yeah, I don't think one thing that I do think is interesting on the topic of investing and is around those high net worth folks that are starting to set their sights on collectibles generally. I mean, sports cards, Pokemon cards, but like you start to see these articles, right? Like Kevin O'Leary, I think, was talking about collectibles, like sports cards or Pokemon cards, as an investment vehicle, as an alternative asset.
Yeah.
They're playing a different game.
Yeah. Just wanted to comment on that specifically, because I don't think people have talked about this. The reason why someone like that would want to invest into one of that expensive, it's about control.
Yes.
They control that market from here on out. And
he said it himself. He said, I'm buying this and it will not sell again in my lifetime.
Yeah. Until someone offers like 50 million or 30 million, And I think, us little guys don't understand that when there's people with that much money, they can make those kind of decisions because it's about influence and controlling the market. Whereas some of us are trying to collect like Mewtwo Vs from Pokemon Go, like I'm doing my part. I got 30 copies, but there's 5,500 in circulation. So, I would just keep that in mind if you're investing. Like, it's it's really easy to make money. You're not really investing. You're probably just flipping, and that's totally okay.
Yeah.
But just be mindful. If you're going to be spending your money on this stuff, like, make sure you can afford it.
Yeah, and get a business license, and make sure that you are keeping track of everything in a legit way, because flipping cards and making profit is definitely a business according to the IRS.
I mean, is that not the perfect transition into our main topic for the day, Jake?
Wow, you got me. That's exactly the right place to start.
Well, let's remind the chat, because I think a lot of people have probably joined since earlier when we talked about the agenda. What's our main topic for the day that we're going to gab about for a little bit here before we go to the Q&A?
We're going to talk about the legitimacy of a Pokemon card resale business. Is it a legitimate business? And not only that, is it something that's maybe worth walking away from a full-time job to pursue, or is it the right move to have it as kind of the ultimate side hustle, and just kind of that dance that anyone who is really taking the hobby seriously has to do when things are going well, and you have to kind of manage those competing priorities. What's the right decision for you? And we're going to talk about that because we're all on different sides of the fence.
We are. And also for the chat, we decided as a group mutually to make the tone of this discussion sort of a friendly debate. So if we're lobbing questions at each other that feel at all spicy, like, we're sort of probably playing devil's advocate. Like, I think the pros and cons of this, we'll talk about it, but like, are mostly kind of obvious, right? Like some of the glaring pros and cons of going full time versus doing this as a side hustle. But I think we're gonna like have fun sort of pushing each other on some of these questions. What are we missing out on by not quitting our corporate jobs and doubling down on this? Or what is Jake risking by having gone full time? I think that's the tone we're gonna take. So nobody be worried if we're upping the spice a little bit. We agreed that we're gonna make it a little bit of a friendly confrontational debate.
Yeah, I promise to only get a little bit of offended and have only a small crash out today live on the internet.
Perfect. Yes. What did you crash out about on your stream? It was Obsidian Flames is bad.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah,
it is.
yeah. I have a few people in my live streams who like to just say things that are so unbelievably wrong just to troll me and see how I'll react. So, yeah.
Absolutely.
They said like Obsidian Flames is the
set.
worst SV set, and I was like, dude.
You're like the Ninetales. You're losing it.
That's such true. I'm a Ninetales believer. Yeah. PSA 10 up on the wall. Shout out Ninetales.
All right, let's get into this. Maybe for starters, I'm not going to assume that everyone watching knows all three of us. So maybe we talk about where we are sort of on that spectrum of part-time to full-time. So I'll start because I think I'm at sort of the bottom, or maybe the furthest left, if you will, in my imaginary visual here. I don't know. Sorry. Okay. I wish I had a visual. It would have made sense. I work a full-time corporate job, relatively demanding job, and a startup. I essentially have two jobs. Like, I have a job that in a large company would probably be 2 or 3 people's jobs. So I work a normal amount of hours, but they're very intense hours. I consider this very much a like hobby side hustle business. It makes enough, and I've made an LLC, so I can't not call it a business. I will report taxes on it. I sell probably annualized right now, like I'll probably sell $200,000 of Pokemon cards on like a 12-month basis. And my YouTube channel makes almost as much money as the selling, actually probably about as much money as the selling cards does right now. So that's where I stand. Ern, you mind sharing for folks where you are on the complete side hustle, complete hobby, full-time spectrum?
Yeah, so I work a full-time corporate job as well. When I started selling a few years ago, it really was just to make money back on the things that I purchased. And since then, I've gone full hobby, full side hustle. I was a huge gamer for a long time. I no longer play games because I can't do the mental math of like, why would I play a game when I could make money selling cards? It's just like doesn't compute, right? Sales wise, last year I did a little under 300,000. I think this year I'll do close to 500,000. And I was close to considering going full time before I took my full time job, but I think the challenge is like I would have to probably gross 800,000 to a million just to have a respectable salary to pay myself and not have to worry about business staying stagnant. And so I think that's one of the challenges is if you want to pay yourself, you're essentially limiting your growth unless you can accelerate past, the money you're taking off the table. And I just couldn't make it work. And, I'm not going to be a whatnot streamer. I'm not going to do eBay live. Like I like spending my free time just doing this. And it's like the ultimate hobby side hustle for me because I don't feel like there's a commitment, like a full-time commitment. But yeah, that's where I'm at.
Okay. And Jake?
Yeah. So I left my full-time corporate job at the very end of October last year. So we are coming up on 12 months full-time, vending all over the country. And we now have a live selling stream and stuff like that we're trying to do at least once a week through Drip. And also the content side, obviously, is a huge part of it. So yeah, definitely full time from an hours standpoint, more than I've ever worked before. So I'm all the way in, fellas.
All the way in. I want to start by asking you, Jake, does being all the way in make it less fun, less of a hobby? Like that's, I think, one of the when your hobby becomes your job, it becomes not a hobby kind of, there's like an adage around that. Maybe we start there and then let's just sling questions back and forth.
Yeah. Huge question. I would say that in general, some of the wonder that you encounter as you kind of get into the hobby, and you can, you might not encounter things very often. Some things are like, you feel like they're very rare. Cards, sets, people that you might have access to, that kind of stuff. I'm getting more and more desensitized to some of those things. And, I think a very simple kind of way to say this, I go to a card show maybe 30, 35 times a year now. And if you're at a big card show with hundreds of vendor tables and many of them who are also doing it full time, you're going to see items, cards and sealed stuff and vintage stuff that the average collector may never see in person. And if they saw it, they'd be like, whoa, I have to take a picture holding that, And I've been there, and I rarely get there now, but I'm still a big time collector. And so I love this stuff. I love the story behind every card, and not just like the Pokemon company's story, but like the individual person's story about how they got a card. And I enjoy and love that feeling of helping someone find the card that they were looking for a set or whatever it may be. And so that part doesn't get old for me. And I also, I love people, and I love that when I am interacting in this hobby, I can interact with people who are doing this in their own free time, and they're electing to do it, and they're doing it as an escape from maybe something else in their life. And that's the right way, in my opinion, to get a chance to know somebody and who they truly are. They're not compelled to be there. They're choosing to be there, and they're enjoying it. And I get to spend time with people and hopefully make that experience for them even better than it would have been if I wasn't there. So, yeah, it's not like I thought it would be, but I still love it.
Do you feel like you're taking on responsibilities? That would be very pointed. Like, I can't imagine vending full time and also selling on Drip, like live selling. Do you think that opportunity or taking on that stuff is a necessity because you're already all in, or do you look at it as the cost analysis investment? It's like, oh, it's not that much work and it's totally going to pay off more than anything else you could do. Like, how do you view that kind of decision?
Yeah. The decision to do some online selling was really a pretty cut and dry business decision. It got to the point where our vending table, we just by nature of the limits of my time and the limits of how many cool cards you can jam into your display case, I couldn't possibly show or sell all of the things that I have available to show and sell. And I couldn't meet all of the people who maybe wanted to meet us. And so the stream became kind of an inevitable thing as we expand into additional revenue sources and sales channels. And then another, I guess, slightly complicated leg to that, Ern, is that a lot of these selling platforms are looking for creators who have a following to participate in on their platform. And so there's, a financial arrangement that you can come to that benefits both parties. And as they say in the mafia, that they made me an offer I couldn't refuse. You know what I'm saying? Like it's a good arrangement for us and for them, and we hope that it continues to be.
Okay. All right. Ern, maybe for you, we're like in a historically bullish Pokemon market, and some could argue that you should strike while the iron is hot. Are you
Go full
missing
time?
out? I mean, just strike while the iron is hot. Like, invest more time and money, just invest more resources. Yeah, maybe go full time. Like, you could make the argument that if there was ever a time to go full time and try to make more than you make at your corporate job, it might be right now.
Can I add to that, Ricky?
Yeah.
And just to make it more complicated for you, Ern, to answer this, like, it's not just about the marketplace being hot and being, all of those things are in place for you to succeed, but you are also an exceptionally well-read and well-understood person about what's going on in the hobby. And don't you think that your competitive advantage of that knowledge and understanding and approach would lend you to be more successful in this than you could possibly be in the majority of corporate positions out there, where you would, I'm sure, be an asset? But like, is there any way you know more about whatever you're doing in your corporate job than you do about Pokemon? Maybe you do. I don't know.
Yeah, let me think about this. Well, I think part of this is like really understanding how best you enjoy and how best you work. And like for me, I get the most when I'm constrained. I get the most out of what I'm doing when I'm constrained and I have less time and I have to like box things in. Like, that's what I know about myself. If I get free time, you guys, I'm telling you, it would be the worst, most unproductive day ever. I would sit around, I would drag my feet, I would take longer to do things. And it's just something I've learned about myself, where I need to keep busy. And working full-time job obviously helps with that. You get paid for that. But I think, like, do I think if I went head first into cards I could do well? I think I could do well. But there's a part of me that's like hanging on to the enjoyment, and I can choose how I enjoy the hobby right now. If I go full time, there's the pressure of how much I get paid per hour, because you have to do that computation, right? It's like, is my time actually being compensated well enough for me to make sense of this? That's pressure I don't have like today. I don't sell dollar singles, but like, I know what's worth my time, what's not. That's pressure I don't deal with today. It also allows me the freedom to pick and choose. I think of it as like, I'm constantly playing this game of Mario Party, where I'm playing all these different mini games in the hobby. Like this grading, I'm gonna focus on this game, this card. I want to do. I started getting the Final Fantasy with the Magic collaboration. Like, focus on that. Like, I don't think I could extrapolate that out into a full-time role. I just don't think I could. And so, I don't know. I don't think I wouldn't be successful. It's just more so I don't think it suits the lifestyle and what I'm able to provide to the hobby right now, let alone like I need my weekends with family. That's why I kind of slowed down in vending. All the free time I put in the hobby right now is like I wake up at 3 and 4. I wake up really early just in general, or I'll maybe stay up late. And so I don't think I would be able to find enough opportunities to fill full time and feel good about it. That's probably the long and short of it.
Hmm. So
I think about it all the time, honestly.
in your
Yeah.
mind, you don't think that, like, let's just make it very simple. Let's say you're spending 40 hours at corporate and, 25, 30 hours a week on Pokemon side hustle business. You don't think that if it was like all 70 hours that you're already working in that time and you just do more of what you're already doing, that you wouldn't get the numbers you're looking for?
So just to put into perspective, because I've tried to do this math before I took my full-time job. I would have to clear a poncho and a half of pure profit take home to make it make sense for family, career potential, expenses, food, daycare, car, all that stuff. I mean, imagine taking a poncho and a half off the table every month, and that's just going to living. So I mean, I think I could get there one day. That is where I want to be eventually. Either I have a store, or I'm flying around the world, consigning cards, grading cards, buying expensive stuff. I think I'll get there eventually, but right now it's like I still have a few steps to go, and it's not exactly clear. I think how I would get there, at least
Yeah.
not yet.
Yeah.
And I don't want to be a streamer. I don't want to do all that stuff. I want to do it my way, in however I want to, jumping in and out of things, buying certain cards, going here and doing that. That's how I want to approach the hobby, and I don't think I can do that right now fully.
All right, Ricky, question for you. So, and feel free to correct me here, but the way that I perceive your approach to the hobby and content creation is you're very authentic, you're very yourself, but I also think that you're incredibly responsible with how you try to take care of the people that are buying or interacting with you in the hobby, whether that's, buying from you, selling to you, or just consuming your content. Do you feel a little bit of a responsibility to focus on that community that you've built and to, continue to show up for them and to, do it the right way? Because, there are some bad actors out there, and more Ricky has got to just be good for the hobby, good for your community that you've created.
Well, I definitely don't think of it as like more Ricky would be good for the hobby or the world or anything like that. That thought never like that. That thought never crosses my mind, to be honest. But I do feel a responsibility, certainly to the people. And when we talk about community, I think it's like particularly the viewers that have been there a long time, especially, and then like the folks in my local scene, especially. But it was awesome to go to LA and meet people that my content had inspired or affected or entertained in some way or educated. But I think that I've been able to do that while having a full-time job. And so I don't think that not having a full-time job is an impediment to that. The only thing I feel a responsibility to sometimes is that I feel like I should upload a video a week. And part of that is just like my own commitment to myself, but it's also for sure like, and there's maybe some weird anxiety of like, oh, if I don't post for 3 weeks, the algorithm will forget me, and then everyone will forget me, and their YouTube channel will be gone. There's definitely some of that in my head, but for the most part, it's just like I upload every week, and some people look forward to it, and I don't have any trouble right now integrating that into my life, but I do have to make sacrifices in my personal life in order to make it fit. So I feel responsibility in that sense, but I definitely don't view it as like, oh, the hobby needs more of me and I should dedicate more of myself. Definitely not the way I look at it.
What's holding you back from going full time?
The biggest things, it's a great question. There are probably 2 or 3 major things. One is attention to it. Sorry if you lost me for a second there. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah, we're good.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Yeah, if I took a break from tech, I feel like I would potentially it would move on without me in a way where it would be hard for me to get back in. That a lot would change because of AI, and like there's just the kind of roles that I do, maybe like they might not even exist in 3 years. So that kind of takes me to the second thing, which is in order to realistically quit my job, I wouldn't actually want to just replace my salary. I'd want the confidence that I could go for a short amount of time, because I think this is like pro athletics. I wouldn't look at it as like I can just do Pokemon for the next 30 years. It'd actually be like, can I make $1 million a year for 3 years and then do whatever I want after that?
Yeah.
I would have to feel like that's on the table. It's not just replacing my salary. I'd have to like 5x my salary or something like that to be able to take that risk, because I do think I could do well with it. And I feel really confident that I can make 2 or 3 years out of it. But could I make 7? I feel a lot more anxious about that.
That's a good framing.
Yeah.
That I'm going to think about. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm curious. I mean, I'd love to ask the same question to you, Ern. I guess you kind of answered some of it, right? Your family, but
I mean, it's this. I mean, if I could approach it the same way and say, like, can I make 3 or 4x my take home, not profit, my take home? And I think that's where a lot of people get lost in this. You want to go full time. When you do the math, like, there are not a lot of ways to make $50 an hour, $100 an hour, $150 an hour. Like, it is very hard to get enough opportunities to sustain consistent cash flow unless you are live selling or vending all the time, right? But yeah, I think it would be the same thing for me. Like, could I triple, quadruple my take home, and what would I need to sell in a year to do that? And at the same time, also not slow down my business, because again, if you are paying yourself, you're taking money out of the business. Whereas right now, as a pure side hustle, now I haven't had to put money into the hobby in like 4 years because I keep rolling over profits. If I'm taking money out, I'm hurting the acceleration or hurting the growth of my business, right? So it would have to be lucrative enough and a big enough opportunity where I see it very clearly. And I think I agree with you. Like, for 2 or 3 years, I think I can get my wife to agree to that. But for like the next 5 or 10, like, I have dreams of opening up. You guys want to hear my idea?
let's hear it.
Coffee, consignments, and cordyceps. It's a coffee shop. It's a card shop, right? Where we do consignments and we serve coffee and we sell mushrooms. Not like those mushrooms, but like, like chaga and stuff. Anyway, one day, maybe.
Okay.
I love it.
Okay. Great idea.
It's the most California business of all time.
It is. So
Let me introduce maybe some complexity here, because I think that one thing, or a line of conversation that we haven't really talked about, is the primary reason why most people decide to go full-time in anything and leave corporate, which is the idea of owning your own business, the idea of being your own boss, the idea of working on work that is truly meaningful to you and it's all yours. And I think that most people recognize, and not to dig on anyone working in corporate, because I perfectly understand the opportunity there, but I think we all realize that unless you're the owner of the corporation, if you're an employee, you are making the business much more money than they are paying you, and that's going to people that are not you. That's going to shareholders, or that's going to business owners. And there's maybe a feeling of resistance to that, thinking, well, if I am competent enough to make this value happen here, yes, there's all of this foundation, and there's a product offering, and there's proven market for what we're doing. And so I'd have to recreate all of that if I did it on my own, but it would be mine. And so I think that might be the part that resonates with a lot of people, because not everyone is in a really strategic work environment in tech. Ern, are you in tech as well? I'm guessing you are,
Yeah.
based on where you live. Making well into the six figures in tech is my guess in the Bay Area. And they're maybe thinking, okay, maybe the trade-off of quality of life from what I'm making at my really lucrative tech job to selling cards is not that big of a leap. Maybe the distance between, I know Dave Ramsey talks about going full time into business. There's a dock where you're standing, which is your foundation, your corporate job, and then there's a boat. And maybe for people that are outside of this trio here, that boat is closer to the dock than maybe it is for us, who had to make a larger leap because we thought it would be a really potentially significant decrease in quality of life because of lost income, at least in that first year, maybe first 2 years or so. But it's your own, and you get to gamble on it and bet on yourself. What's your guys' take on that mentality being something that's maybe more fulfilling to pursue in life, and it's not just about the security of money?
The best startup founders I have found and startup employees are the people who have gone from corporate into startups.
Yeah.
And I think it's a testament of like, I think the younger generation hears that message, Jake, and they're like, yeah, I don't want a boss. I don't, I want to own my own destiny. But like, I've gone from startup, corporate. And I can tell you, like, I'm also a bit older than most, I think, in the hobby. I'll be 38 this year. I know.
You'll be how old?
Asian don't raisin. That's what they say. I'll be 38 this year.
38. Oh, I was going to say you're going to be 22. I'm totally off.
I think I would challenge people who say corporate's not really worth it. They don't want to do it until they've really gone through it, because you learn a lot. And if you approach it as a learning opportunity and to test yourself both through process and people, dealing with difficult situations, dealing with impossible scenarios, like, you will fortify yourself for your cards business or whatever you want to do in the future. But if you have the mentality where you're just going to skip all that because like you want to own your own destiny, I used to think like that, but I'm sorry, I really don't agree with that anymore. Like, I think if you can get a nice cushy job at a tech or whatever kind of corporate company, you treat that as an opportunity to learn and challenge yourself, and then in your free time you build your cards business. At that point, if you start seeing high potential in your cards business based on what you're doing, then make the trade-off. But don't, the opportunity cost, I think, is way too high. And I don't think it gets said enough. Like, insurance, regular salary, sometimes food benefits.
You're good. We gotcha.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we gotcha.
I said the S word, and then my Mac went off and said, "What did you say?" It is a great tool and a way to refine yourself to get ready for a potential opportunity in cards or whatever business you want to own.
Yeah.
So anyway,
I second that, right? And I'm coming from that same situation. I can't know what skills that I attained in corporate America that have translated into business success here. I can guess, but like, if I hadn't gone through that, can I say that I would be able to get to where I am? But then again, like, and this might sound trite, but I'm looking around at some of these vendors at these shows, guys, and them. They're young people with like high six figures, seven figures worth of inventory. And we don't know their backstory. We don't know exactly, if they were well capitalized before or whatever it may be, but there's got to be a handful of them that they're hustlers and they see an opportunity and they've absolutely capitalized, and they probably feel really good about the fact that they own it 100%. Now, I would venture to guess that the vast majority of them are not coming from a position where they already have a family, they already, own real estate in a certain state, or have, other responsibilities that they're that they're juggling while considering this decision. Most of them are probably like, I got nothing to lose, so we might as well go big and risk it. And worst case scenario is I'm 23 and this thing burned out and I have to go get a job somewhere. But it's still sometimes, I look at it as I'm not young in the hobby compared to many of these guys, and I'm like, dang, like they're really far along and way younger than me. And so if they can do it, like so many people can do it.
I'm curious your thoughts, Jake, on the longevity piece. So some framing for this for me is yes, 12-year-olds with 300K tables, very real. I have spent over a decade in tech and primarily in startups. I survived like 5 layoffs where I saw other people get laid off. I was not one of those people. And then at the beginning of 2023, I got laid off from a job that I had been there for a long time. We got new leadership. Things were slowing down at that time. The zero interest era was over, and they let go a bunch of OGs, and I was one of those. And then I got a new job in March, and the founders lied about a bunch of stuff, and I didn't have that job by June. So after 10 years of never getting laid off and surviving 5 of these, I got laid off twice in 6 months. There are all these, of course, even in these stable corporate jobs or tech jobs or whatever, there's a lot of factors that are at risk, that like a lot of factors that are not in your control that still risk your job. And one of the hard learnings in that for me was certainly that you can do very well. Like I was succeeding in both of those roles. You can do very well and have it essentially not mean anything in the end if the powers that be decide so. And the thing that's, I think, scary though about making that jump to full time is that like if the macro changes, it could all you're the guy. It falls on you. You're the guy. You're the one who maybe does, to put it very plainly, like you're, starting to employ your siblings. Like if you employ your siblings, then it slows down and you have to lay off your siblings. Like that would be an extremely hard place to be. And you can do everything right and still end up there. So how do you think about probably we're like, you're going to crush the next few years, but it's hard to say 7 years from now.
Yeah.
How do you think about the longevity piece of it and in that taking the risk to full time and moving away from corporate?
Well, I think the first thing, it's complicated, right? Because we're talking about multiple levels of responsibility. I think that the way I've wrapped my head around the idea of employing siblings is that I'm very upfront with them about the risks and the opportunity. And, I'm not making any promises that that I can't keep, because the only promises that I'm keeping are about commitment, and they're about, intentions. They're not about results. And I think that that's kind of the same with any business. I mean, in the tech company that I came from, it was a startup. I was employee number 60 or whatever. And within a few years, it got to 500 employees. And yes, that's a success story for the business. But all along the way, there were promises that they were making that were mostly like, hey, if we get to here, then this. If we get to here, then this. If we get to here, then this. And they had the right intentions, but there was no way, there were no guarantees, right? There's no contractual guarantees. And if you can have that frank conversation with someone who's not your family member, then I think you should be able to have it with someone who's your family member as well, because they know you, and hopefully they have even more trust in you than, the person that you met at your office who ends up being your boss. So that's how I kind of perceive that. But as far as the long term, Ricky, I think ironically, although it may seem like, oh, it's more risky for me to take this leap, I have been more judicious about setting the business up for the future than I was about setting my family up for the future when I was working at corporate, because I perceive that risk even more. And so emergency funds and long-term inventory and different revenue streams and skill acquisition and increased quantity of amount of networking that I'm doing to hopefully create a softer and softer landing if things, the bottom falls out. I've been doing that because my feeling of responsibility compared to when I was, managing 30 people or so at a company that was owned by someone else, managing my own company, I feel so much more responsibility. And I feel, especially because this might be unique to our situation, but we're hashing this out live on the internet all the time. And if I take a huge L, the whole world gets to see it. I bought a fake Mew for $3,000. I was too focused on business, and now my wife and I are working on our relationship and therapy. And I'm the one who booked that flight that ended up getting canceled in Denver, and we had to sleep in the airport terminal, just me and my brother, and it was terribly uncomfortable. Like that's on me. It's not on anybody else. I don't have anybody else to blame, really. And so I take that very seriously. And so it means that my brain is constantly full of thoughts about what ifs and what should we do and all that kind of stuff. But I personally perceive that increased level of responsibility as a more fulfilling way to live my life, because I believe, and I know for a fact, that if I pursued corporate, we could be fine. We'd be fine. But I only have that one life. I only have so many minutes, and I want to spend it with the people that I love the most, that I know the best, that I can depend on, and do something that is exceptional and ours.
I think that's probably like the macro point here is like, it's not a matter of going full time or not. It's figuring out what works best for you and feeling good about it.
Yeah.
I do have dreams of going full time one day, but I feel pretty good where I'm at right now.
Yeah.
So, no regrets.
I love that line of conversation you have on your channel too, Ern, where it's like, people fretting about this decision or that buy or that sale or whatever, what you might do. But like, what you really should do is what you feel best about, because that is what is that's what you're going to be able, that's the plan you can adhere to, because you can sleep at night.
Well, if stuff hits the fan, whether you're investing or flipping or whatever, at least you feel good about the decision you make. And that's like, that's the best you could ask for.
Yeah. Wow. How do we feel?
I feel good, man.
Yeah.
I feel inspired, but like my mind hasn't necessarily changed, but I love your reasons and the way that you think about things. And, the three of us, there's a lot of mutual respect here. So even though we're all kind of doing things differently, like Ern has kids, I don't have kids, you're doing it full time, like neither of us does it full time. I think we can all understand and relate to the reasons that we're structuring things the way that we do, and the type of risk that we're all individually comfortable taking on for the trade-off of owning your own thing versus high level of comfort or stability or certainty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Another thing I really like about this group here, and one of the reasons originally why I wanted to do this program with you, Ricky, and obviously why we wanted to invite you on, Ern, because I feel like you're of a similar mindset, is that we're all trying to live life very on purpose. We're all trying to make the right decision for ourselves and those that we're responsible for. And I just have a lot of respect for that, because that's what you should do. And that is, and this might sound kind of cringy, but like, we're all guys here. I think that's the right type of masculinity, to take a lot of responsibility over your life and try to help those that are around you, and do so in a way that can benefit others.
Yeah.
I have one last thing I wanted to ask. And that is, if there are people on the outside who really want to go full time, what would you say to them? What's one thing you'd say to them to consider or do or do not do?
Here's where I got to shout out my my business partner, my best friend and my queen, Franny Joe, my wife. The only reason why we felt it was reasonable enough to take this risk is because we had the beginnings of a really cool community of people who were interested in our journey and interested in, seeing us at shows and working with us and meeting us and talking to us and being our friends. And that was created probably like 90%, 95% due to Franny's hard work and her talent in creating content for social media. And so if you are looking to go full time, you need to be making content about your collection, about your business, about your hobby, about what you think, about all of those things, because it's like this cheat code. It's like marketing material that you can also get paid for. It's the ultimate double dip. And if there wasn't that piece, which is a significant part of our business, I don't think it's possible. Even in a market like this, like what you said, Ern, like you have to remove $8,000 to $10,000 per month out of your business inventory in order to just live and pay rent. Like that seems very, very tough. But in a world where we can build this community online and YouTube pays us and we can provide enough value for there to be a membership on YouTube, and we can also have some merch and all these kinds of things that can feed into the business opportunity. It means that we can live on the revenue of the social media, and I can build this inventory without that pressure. I don't have to stress about how many Charizards I sell. I just have to be consistent in the creation of the content and the show attendance, and that's a huge piece.
+1 on the content. I think to add something different to that, I would probably pose a question like, are you running from something or to something and making that jump? I think that is a very important thing to consider, because if you're running from something, you might not have the right reasons behind what your motivation is for going full time, or what your even understanding is of going full time, that you're escaping, hoping that this is an escape. And for a lot of people, I think for the majority of people, especially those that don't do content, like it's not going to work out. I almost think of like fighting. Like a lot of people that get into pro fighting are escaping a situation that they're in, and they feel like it's a way out, but only a very, very small number truly make money at it. And they leave with literal damage. And I think the damage in this case is sort of like, what skills are you potentially not developing that you could be in a corporate role? And maybe my advice would depend a little bit on the age and the life stage and the responsibilities of that person, of course. But I think the most generic first thing my mind goes to beyond make content is, are you running to cards or from something?
Yeah. Great point.
If I could add one.
Yeah.
I think I say this really as a reminder to myself. It's like, you really got to know your numbers. How much your expenses are, how much you need to take home, what taxes look like, how to pay for health insurance, how to invest into your future, whether that's, stock market, whatever it is. How do you just take care of yourself? And I think a lot of people, similar to what you said, Ricky, they're running to the hobby and they kind of just drown out the daily responsibilities, the things you have to take care of in everyday life, where not a lot of people who are full-time, I think, are able to do this long term. Like there's not enough money to go around for everyone. And that's why you're seeing a lot more people do streaming, vending all the time, and really try to like squeeze as much as they can out of the hobby, because as I mentioned before, there's not a $25 an hour role. There's not a $50 an hour role. Like it's just not how the hobby works.
Mm-hmm.
But if you were in a job, then you could back that into, okay, am I getting enough to pay for rent, food, expenses, that kind of thing. So I would just say, really know your numbers and know what you need to survive and to thrive.
Awesome. We're as I expected we would. We're approaching 2 hours, so I think it's probably a beautiful place to thank you, Ern, for that. That was a perfect closing question on the topic. Maybe we transition to some Q&A, and I've been trying to star some of the questions as they go along. So if you guys want to look at the starred questions in there, we've gotten a handful. But let's go ahead and transition to the Q&A.
Feel free to drop your questions in the chat, folks.
And also, I'll see about picking. What is the biggest threat for those who have gone full-time in the hobby?
I'm going to say the euphoria of near-term success, I think is a huge threat who have gone full-time, because I would say the majority of people who have gone full-time have done it and have only known a bull market, as far as the amount of time when their business depended on just selling cards or, vending at shows, for example. And you can get a little bit love drunk on, the fact that, oh, I don't have to sell this card right now. It's going to sit in my case next week and appreciate in value, and I'll sell it for more next week. That is not always the case. And so you have to be taking some off. You have to be setting aside money for a rainy day. You have to be preparing. Otherwise, your business will not have longevity.
Okay, you ended in a similar place to where my mind went, but you totally came at it from a different angle, which is cool. My mind went to macro stuff, like macroeconomic conditions. I think that uncontrollable, that unknown, changes how people interact with the hobby. It'll change card values. It'll change liquidity. It'll change the pool of buyers. It'll change how many people are showing up to card shows. And I think when that happens, potentially those people will essentially exit the hobby. There might be less people watching the content. It could change how the algorithms work. The algorithms could just change. The meta for YouTube could change. Right now, there's a very strong meta for watch time and retention, and these 20 to 40-minute videos are kind of the meta right now. That wasn't always the case. Like, it could go to 10-minute videos, and that's 10-minute videos, not a great meta for vendor POV creators. So these like macro changes that you have no control over, and you kind of have to like ride the waves, I think are a major threat. That's the one that came to mind for me, but I loved your answer, Jake.
I mean, my channel would not exist if there was not a shift into long form. Like, for some reason, people like to have 30-minute videos up of like whatever, and they do well, right? So I agree, Ricky. I think that's a big part of it. The macro is a big part of it. I think everyone wants to start a business because the market's hot. Like, try to start this business when things are down. Or, I remember when Scarlet and Violet first came out, man, people were just not happy about the hobby. But the people who started businesses then, like, they're flourishing now, right? So, rose-colored, what do they say? Rose-tinted glasses. A lot of that's going on right now. And if you limit your time frame, you reduce the risk a lot. But I don't think this is going to last forever, at least how it currently is.
Jake, this is sort of piggybacking on what you said. How critical is the revenue from content creation if you're going full time? I know people who don't create content and are full time. So obviously you can't call it critical, but if I were to go full time, content would be like at least half the strategy.
Yeah. I mean, opportunity cost of your time, right? Like, the time you spend in your content creation, in theory, you could spend it in other areas and make just as much or more revenue, right? So it's going to be different for each person. Depends on where your skill set lies. But what I will say is, being a person who had been in corporate for a number of years, I'm married, we have standard expenses that are recurring every month. We probably would not have made the leap if we didn't have a window into a recurring amount of revenue on a regular basis, on top of selling cards. And so we made the leap after we became monetized on YouTube, and we saw what the AdSense opportunity was. Now, that wasn't enough money to justify leaving at that moment, but it was a trajectory that we were like, hey, let's take this gamble and see if it works out. And it did. And it is currently. It won't, maybe it won't always forever, right? But yeah, it reduced so much of the stress that would come from exclusively having to, earn your living by buying and selling and trading.
Give a take, Ern. It's okay if you don't. Yeah. Okay.
I made like $1,000 in the content. That's it.
That's not bad, man. That's not nothing.
It's not bad. It's not bad.
It's not bad. From Sometimes We Go Places. What's a costly decision you have each made an error that changed the way you approach this hobby or business?
The general idea of diversification. Whether you are trying to speculate on certain cards or sealed, I think a lot of the financial advice that came into the hobby is like, oh, diversify, like reduce your risk. I wish I would have doubled and quadrupled and 10 times over downed on cards and sealed that I believed in, because those, outside of making the decision that I really wanted to make and feel good about it, I think when you are spreading yourself across a bunch of different bets, you're really hoping that they all rise uniformly. But if maybe I should be careful how I frame this. I think it's becoming a lot easier to pick winners.
Okay.
Across sealed and across singles and slabs. And so in terms of what it cost me, it really just opportunity cost and potential revenue. But, for example, I had X and Y full art cards that I sat on for a couple of years. They checked all the boxes. Top hit from every set, that gold, the gold and red Mewtwo from Breakthrough Breakpoint. Sat on a couple of those. I'm just gonna sell it $400. It's not going anywhere. Like, whatever. Wasn't patient. And then, a year and a half later, it's like a $2,000, $3,000 card. Just not doubling down enough and not really sticking to what I believed in. I think was probably the most costly decisions I've had or made.
I can go. For me, it actually was stuff that I experienced in collectibles before getting into the Pokemon card hobby again, which was getting scammed in a chargeback scam for a $10,000 wristwatch. And I kind of ignored, I think I had a pretty high level of confidence in buying and selling things like that. And so I kind of ignored what in hindsight were some red flags around, request to pay a certain way, request to ship overnight. And they were just, not vetting the person, not seeing references. So I because of that $10,000 mistake, the chargeback scam was, I think they used a stolen credit card. So I shipped the watch and then they charged it back. I just sort of lose on both ends there. And I'm much more careful about how I do deals, especially remotely with folks. Like I'm really always vetting, like you have to pay me through methods that can't be charged back unless you have references or I know you, there's a reason to trust you. And I don't compromise on those principles. So, $10,000+ mistake in a previous sort of similar hobby really changed my standards for who and how I will do deals online in this hobby.
Yeah. I don't have a really specific one for this right now, but just in general, I would say the similar line as Ricky is just kind of assuming good intentions all around. You have to be careful. This is an unregulated industry, and so take care of yourself and don't be in a hurry to buy or sell. Don't be in such a hurry that you ignore warning signs.
Yep. I can keep picking from the chat, but I don't know if you guys had one that
you're doing great. No, you're killing.
Okay.
You're doing great.
Okay. How do you go about creating content from TKO 1728? How do you go about creating content as someone who's never made any content before? Or I guess framed another way, like what would be your advice for someone who's never created content before?
My take on this is all about authenticity. You should try to make content that you yourself would like to tune into. And that if that is your barrier for entry, like you're the kind of person that would legit watch this entire video and all the things that go into that: video quality, audio quality, the presentation ability of the person who's making the content. Once you watch some of the videos that you make yourself and you think, man, like, would I actually watch this? And what could that'll trigger your mind to know the areas that you need to get better. And you'll work on those things and improve things. And the comment section will tell you things that you need to change and get better at. And you should pay attention to some of that, not all of that, but some of it for sure is good advice. So how to get started is really, honestly, unfortunately, try to write a script for a video or something like that you would actually watch and see how it goes and see what you can learn from creating that.
I think that's really good advice. One that comes to mind for me is, if you haven't created content before, is you just have to start. I think I had somebody message me the other day who's an actual channel member. They've messaged me a bunch of times, and they said they've been wanting to be a Pokemon content creator for a long time, and they realize now that it's just all been excuses as to why they haven't started. It's like actually just fear of failure and fear of judgment and things like that are holding them back. Realistically, if you've never edited content before, probably the videos that you make are going to be bad initially.
Yes.
And so you just have to get those out of your system. Accept that. Forgive yourself for making bad videos. If you think they're good, later, as you get better, you will look back and be like, wow, I thought that video was good. And when I saw it, I was proud of it. And that's great. Be proud of something you created. You can also look back on it 2 years later and say, oh, I didn't know anything about creating a good video at that time. But you got to get those out of your system. Everyone that was great at anything is almost never by mistake. It's a lot of hours, a lot of practice. I still get better at editing. I started editing videos when I was like 13 or 12 on a MacBook Pro on iMovie. So I've been doing it for most of my life and just as a hobbyist, but I never got any sort of formal training. And just by doing it more, my videos continue, I feel like, to get better on my own channel because I learn new tricks. I download new software. I watch a tutorial on YouTube, but don't just get paralyzed by like, what am I going to talk about? Or like those things I think do eventually matter, but just accept like, probably it's not going to be an overnight sensation. And the key thing is to be consistent, set a schedule, make 52 videos in 52 weeks, and you will be in a very different place. And if you have to relaunch the channel, Ern relaunched the channel. I'm excited to hear from Ern on this because Ern relaunched his channel and built it back up better than his Pokemon, his old channel was for Pokemon content, like very quickly. And Ern is doing it, I think, with his phone and a Rode mic, $200 of equipment. So you don't
iPhone 14 Pro Max, brother. So I mean, come on, give me a break.
Okay, it's a good iPhone, but I'm just saying, if you have a phone with a good camera, you can buy a $100 to $200 microphone. You have more than enough equipment. So don't go, I need $5,000 for the right laptop and the right camera. Just start making content.
Yeah. I think I have a good amount of thoughts. So I had an old YouTube channel when I used to play a lot of games in Call of Duty. It skyrocketed to like 50, 60,000 subscribers 13 years ago. And then I quit. When I came back into the hobby, I decided to reboot the channel, but I did not realize that is the worst thing you can do because YouTube is all about data signals. So they're reading like, oh, you have like very little subscribers who want to watch this content. Like, we're not going to get you views, that kind of thing. So I decided to just cut that channel, and I restarted this myself this year. And ever since then, I've been uploading, to my 2,500 subscriber channel. My general advice is like, I would figure out what you're good at. Not saying like content wise, just generally, like, what are you good at? What do people resonate with? What do people say about you? What do your family members say about you that sticks out? And I think the key thing that I learned when I decided to want to record myself in a car talking to myself talking about cards is like, I have this long standing Discord group of friends. We call it PokeFam. It is what it is. We've been around for a while, right? And like ever since we started hanging out, the signals I got was like people wanted to hear my opinions on things. And like I wasn't trying to like give my opinion on things, but like I took notice that like, oh, I think what I have to say is either important or curious enough for people to want to hear it. So let me try to expand on that. And you know, if you go to my channel, like it's very low production quality. I do use an iPhone. I have a Rode mic. I put it one on my chest, and I have one on the phone, and then I record myself driving. Don't worry, I've never got a speeding ticket. I've never been pulled over. I'm a pretty good driver, and I just let it rip. And I don't know, maybe it's just me, but like I just do better when I'm like partially distracted and like focusing on things. Like I can speak just what's top of mind, it just comes out, and it just happened to work. And so, you know, to summarize, like figure out what you're good at, why people would be drawn to you. Unless you're a full creative, like an artist who can like make something from scratch, very few people are like that. Then people are probably going to be banking on your personality, who you are, why you are a resonating individual. Build on that, and then surround what that strength is with the types of content that would make the most sense. That's probably my best advice.
It's great advice.
I love it. Just that theme of leaning into your competitive advantage. And maybe you don't even know what that is right now, or you need to ask some people around you to tell you what it is. That's a great place to start. You know, what am I good at? What am I known for? And lean into that.
I will say one more thing on this. I met somebody I've shouted out on my channel a couple of times, a woman named Jenny, goes by Friday TCG. She's only posted like 5 videos, but the algorithm really picked them up, and so she's done very well. She's like got a 20,000 subscriber channel now with like 6 long form videos and 3 shorts or something like that. I met her and I was like, "You're doing a great job," and she's like, "I don't know what I'm doing," and I was like, "I'll tell you exactly what I think you're doing." Like, so the point is, I think for the big takeaway from that, though, related to what we're talking about here, is she just started making content, but she did used to edit like back in high school, like for fun. So she has some content creation experience. So her first videos weren't bad, and she's really authentic. That's the main thing, is that authenticity. That's what's resonating for people. And I can YouTube brain analyze that there's a niche for cozy content. There aren't that many female vendors. She does subtitles on all her videos. Like there's a lot of things she is doing right as a creator, but they're like almost unintentional. Like she's like, none of these were deliberate. She didn't analyze what are my creative advantages and my unfair advantages. And there's like totally a glut of cozy vendor POV content from female vendors, and I'm going to go fill that niche. Like she had none of those thoughts. She just like, I don't know, I just started making videos and like it resonated. And I think at the end of the day, that is authenticity. She resonated.
Yeah. Love it.
I just one last bit. I think people in the hobby really crave connection.
Yes.
And authenticity speaks to that. And I also think people in the hobby really crave wanting to learn. That's why vendor content, I think, does well. It's like, oh, how do you structure a deal? Like, oh, how do you, like, what would you buy? You know, like these are just skills that, you know, unless you go and be a vendor or you go to shows, like you wouldn't be exposed to. So if you can speak to those notes, I think that goes a long way.
Great point.
Awesome. I know we've been running for a long time and it's getting late. Should we maybe take like 1 or 2 more and call it a night?
Agreed.
Okay.
I'm good for whatever.
Ern's all night, baby. Let's go.
Good. Baby's asleep.
Didn't you tell us? Did you say you wake up at 3 or 4 a.m.?
When I put the baby down at 7:30, 7:45, my wife and I go straight to bed, and I'm usually asleep by 8:30. I have an alarm that goes at 4 and 4:30 and 5.
So we're cutting into your sleep here, man.
It's okay. It's worth it. Totally worth it.
Lily Mix 3 with a super chat. And asking, do you think the hobby would be in a better state if all vendors started trading and selling more CGC, tag, or BGS slabs? What would be the pros and cons?
I saw this question and immediately sparked a thought in my head. So I think I'll go first here. And unfortunately, I think I'm going to answer the question in kind of a, I don't know, an indirect way. And the issue here is that the hobby is driven by collectors and buyers, not by sellers. Sellers are told what to do by buyers. And I don't think it's an issue of, the buyers just don't have any of these cards available at these shows. And so that's why they're not being transacted with. No, it's just a general perception that the buyers have that PSA is more desirable, and the sellers have to match that, or they're not going to sell. And they're not going to sell as much as they need to in order to have legitimate business or legitimate side hustle. And so as much as we want to think that the marketplace is driven by the producers of goods, it's driven by the consumers of goods.
That's good. That's a good point. I was going to say, this sounds weird and kind of off, but the hobby is imperfect. And the more imperfect it is, the more advantages that people have around buying, selling, trading, collecting, vending, grading. Like, and if the hobby was perfect, then there would be upper class, middle class, lower class very, very cleanly. Yeah. And because it is not perfect, the everyday person can go out and grade, I don't know, go crack a CGC 10 and then resubmit it and it gets a PSA 10. Yes. Like you want that, right? You don't want like, oh, everything's all equal and like, you know, all the grading companies are on the same playing field. Like you want imbalances because that's where opportunity and arbitrage and the riches are in the niches. Like that's where all that comes into play, right? Yeah, that's what I think.
I love that point, Ern. Love that.
I don't have anything to add that's more insightful than what you two just said. So I think we've got a ton of great questions and we haven't been able to get to all of them, obviously. So sorry if we didn't hit your question. Maybe one of these days, Jake, we just we do a very Q&A heavy or a Q&A only session because we've got like 20 other questions in here that I think are all valid and worth answering. And I'm getting tired. Ern's 2 hours past his bedtime. Jake's in another time zone. He's an hour past us. So I think we end on the elite forecast.
Oh, what is the forecast?
Oh, there's more.
Oh yeah, we didn't prep you this
time. He's like, these guys have more of this stuff.
He's like, oh yeah, this segment is 2.5 hours long, Ern. So buckle up. No, the elite forecast is just an absolute like a quick call. We're just making a call on something going up, something going down. The elite forecast. I'll do one. I'll start. Last stream we talked about booster boxes. Someone had asked about values of different booster boxes, and we had landed on Chilling Rain is undervalued. And then I really looked at it because I don't stare at booster box prices, but that did make me go look at it after the stream. And I thought I was looking at Chilling Rain's box price versus Fusion Strike and some of the others, and I thought it is undervalued. So I bought 4 boxes and I bought them. And it's going to seem not bold now, but I swear I put this elite forecast down a week ago because this box is going up since we talked about this. I think it was like 500 when we were on that stream. I bought 4 boxes after that stream at like 550 after tax and ship and stuff. And I think they're selling now on eBay, like recent solds I was seeing, because I'm trying to bid on more in that 550 range. And they're like 623 was a sale that I lost yesterday. So I think people are going to catch on that is like that has a lot of good cards in it, a lot of cards with value. It is an undervalued and underappreciated set getting overshadowed by some of the others from that era, just because it's a strong era and people are also focusing on some of the brand new stuff. So I think that's a look where people aren't paying as much attention play. Put my money where my mouth was. I bought 4 more boxes.
Wow.
Do you want me to go next?
Yeah, go for it.
Well, I would say Pokemon Go Mewtwo V, but it's already on its way. So enjoy, folks.
Ern's already on the way to his private island paid by Mewtwo V.
I'm not gonna sell those things. I'll sell like a few at like 400 or 500, but I'm gonna keep the rest. I'm a long-term holder. I feel very strongly about this ever since I made my video today. I think Champion's Path is gonna have its day, and I think the I think the ETV is going to like $300-400 a box by end of year. I really think so.
Dude,
Because
that's
with
like
Phantasmal
3x.
courses, no, it's 140 now.
Is it?
It's 140 now with like how many are listed? Let's see.
I'll pull it
It's
up.
actually not too far.
It was $110 3 years ago.
We're going to be on our way. Champion's Path. Zard is back. Hyper Rare Zard. Pop 20,000 PSA 10. Like, we are on our way. Just mark my words.
You know what? He understood the assignment. That is an elite forecast.
You picked the easy one. Let's be fair.
Oh, I'm not arguing with you on that.
I'm gonna go with Evolving Skies to 3,500 per box before any Sword and Shield box gets to 1,200.
Wait, how is this floor looking?
Yeah, me and Ern immediately pulling
like
up
one
TCG
sale
play.
away.
Evolving Skies booster box.
Like
Let's
10.
see. Okay.
Yeah, we're like 10.
Yeah, 10 away.
10 away. Yeah. Yeah, that's yeah.
There's some 3,000 listings. Yeah, floor starred seller 28.99. Okay. All right. I like it. I like the specificity. I respect the specificity, Jake. I was not very specific in mine. I just said Chilling Rain up.
Chilling Rain, good.
So Chilling Rain up.
Content.
Yeah, that was more of like a Brock forecast, not an elite forecast.
Okay. My to be more specific, I think it should be an $800 box within the next like 2 or 3 months before the end of the year. $850 box.
Yeah, I like that. And earn $400 Champion's Path by the end of the year is a hot take. I love that. But I guess the money has to go somewhere. We can't all just buy $400 booster boxes at release, I guess.
At this point, there's not that many specialty or unique items left. It feels like
exactly.
People are like, let's just buy this one.
Yeah.
You know?
It's either that or battle styles, right? It's got one. It has to go up sometime.
Yeah.
All right, guys.
That's all we got. We're going to wrap it up there for the Elite Forecast. Thank you so much for tuning in. Ern, thank you so much for being here with us. It's been a pleasure. You are an excellent guest. We will undoubtedly have you back. And guys, thank you for all your questions. We will for sure, we'll probably form like at least one of our streams every quarter, maybe, to be like heavy Q&A. That's what we love the most about doing this. And it's great to interact with you guys live every other Wednesday on Midweek Machamps. We'll see you in 2 weeks. Until then, take it easy, guys.
Thanks, everyone.